Everything your history teacher told you is a lie. We're taught that human history is this perfect straight line of progress. We went from hunting to farming to building cities, all in a nice, neat little row. You've all seen those boring timelines in textbooks. But what if that timeline is completely broken? What if it's a total illusion and the truth is way more insane and mysterious? What if there's a massive chapter in our history that's been totally ignored? A chapter that could rewrite everything we know about where we came from? This isn't just a few missing years. We're talking about a period right after the Ice Age that is so weird it makes no sense. It's not just a missing page from the history book, it's a completely different book, and its first chapter is a giant question mark that scientists are freaking out over. Today, we're looking at a time with impossible structures that simply should not exist. The story usually starts 12,000 years ago. The ice is melting, the world is warming up, and humanity is about to make its greatest invention, farming. This farming revolution is supposed to be the reason we have everything: cities, jobs, writing, empires. It's clean, simple, logical, and it's almost definitely wrong. The illusion of the straight line. The entire story of humanity is built on one idea. First you farm, then you build cool stuff. Only after we had farms could we get the time and resources to build massive monuments. Before that, our ancestors were supposedly just small bands of hunters, barely surviving. But the actual evidence tells a totally different story. The idea that we suddenly jumped from primitive to advanced is a huge lie. The truth is, humans have been crazy smart and creative for way, way longer than we thought. To get it, you have to go back over 400,000 years. This is the time of Homo heidelbergensis, our ancient ancestor. For a long time, we thought they were just a stepping stone, but they left behind these insane, perfectly symmetrical stone hand axes. These weren't just sharp rocks. These were designed by people with a plan, with a vision. These ancient people hunted huge animals and had tool technology that lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. This wasn't just survival. This was a culture of skilled creators. So if our relatives were this smart 500,000 years ago, why do our history books say we had to relearn everything after the Ice Age? This is where that neat timeline completely falls apart. Civilization wasn't born in a farm field. It was born in the minds of people who were already brilliant. The end of the Ice Age just gave this ancient human genius a new stage to do something so monumental it would break history itself. The temple before the city, Göbekli Tepe. Okay, this is where it gets crazy. In Turkey, under a hill called Göbekli Tepe, a secret was buried for over 11,000 years. For decades, archaeologists thought it was just some old graveyard. But in 1994, an archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt saw something everyone else had missed. He knew this was no graveyard. He knew it was something way, way older. What his team dug up didn't just get a fancy UNESCO award, it would literally change our understanding of the entire ancient world. The site dates back to 9600 BCE. To put that in perspective, that's over 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. It's thousands of years before the first cities, before writing, before pottery, and even before farming. According to everything we thought we knew, the people who built this should have been simple hunter-gatherers, but what they created was anything but simple. Göbekli Tepe is a massive complex of giant circular rooms. At their center are monolithic T-shaped pillars, some standing over 18 feet tall and weighing up to 50 tons. 50 tons! These weren't crude rocks. They were carved out of a quarry, moved hundreds of meters, and set up without help from animals, the wheel, or metal tools. How? And then they carved them. The pillars are covered in insane reliefs of animals: lions, foxes, snakes, scorpions. This isn't just a zoo, it's a whole mythology written in stone by people we assumed didn't have one. The pillars are even shaped like people, with arms and hands carved into their sides. These are stylized giants, gathered in a silent meeting that has lasted for 12,000 years. The amount of work this took is staggering. It would have taken hundreds of workers who all needed to be organized and fed. This implies a level of social structure that was supposed to be impossible before farming. It seems Göbekli Tepe was a massive cathedral for hunter-gatherers. This led Klaus Schmidt to his world-changing theory. What if we have it all backwards? He proposed that the effort to build something like Göbekli Tepe was the thing that kick-started civilization. The need to feed all those workers might be what sparked the invention of farming. First came the temple, then came the city. It flips the entire story of our origins upside down. But wait, it gets even weirder. One of these pillars, Pillar 43, known as the Vulture Stone, has started a massive fight among scientists. It's covered with symbols, a scorpion, some birds, and a big vulture. But near the vulture's wing is a small, headless human figure. In 2017, two researchers published an incredible paper. They said the carvings aren't just animals, but a sophisticated star map. Using computers, they dialed back the night sky and claimed the animals perfectly match constellations from 12,000 years ago. Their conclusion was insane. They believe the pillar is a date stamp for a global catastrophe. The date they landed on is 10,950 BCE, which lines up with the Younger Dryas, a sudden 1,000-year-long mini ice age. One theory is that this was caused by a comet hitting the Earth. These researchers argue the Vulture Stone is a memorial to this exact event. The headless man represents the mass death it caused. If they're right, the builders of Göbekli Tepe weren't just artists, they were astronomers recording a disaster for future generations. It's a mind-bending idea, but, and this is a huge but, mainstream archaeologists hate this theory. The scientists who actually dig at the site have published papers saying it's all wrong. They point out that the date is off by nearly 1,000 years from the age of the structure itself. Second, guessing which animal is which constellation is a total shot in the dark. Assuming ancient hunters saw the same star patterns as the Greeks is a massive leap. And most importantly, the image of a vulture and a headless person is a super common symbol from that time. They think it's about funeral rituals, with vultures carrying the souls of the dead to the afterlife. In that version, the headless man isn't a victim of a comet, but part of a specific spiritual belief. So while a secret star map is an awesome idea, the evidence points to a different truth. The people of Göbekli Tepe were obsessed with life and death, and they were expressing it on a scale we can barely comprehend. If your mind is as blown as mine, hit that subscribe button right now because you are not going to believe what we found on the other side of the world. This mystery is way bigger than just one temple. The garden cities of the Amazon. For centuries, everyone thought the Amazon rainforest was a pristine, empty wilderness. The idea of huge, complex societies living there was dismissed as a total fantasy, a crazy story from explorers looking for El Dorado. Experts said the bad soil and thick jungle just couldn't support big populations. That assumption was completely wrong. The tool that let us see the truth is LiDAR, basically shooting lasers from a plane to map the ground. I'm not kidding, lasers. In Ecuador, archaeologists had seen some weird mounds for decades, but after a LiDAR scan in 2015, the true shocking scale of what was hidden became clear. Under the forest wasn't just a village, but a vast interconnected urban landscape. The findings published in 2024 revealed an entire network of lost cities. This society started building around 500 BCE, a full 1,000 years earlier than any other complex society in the Amazon. The lasers uncovered over 6,000 rectangular platforms for homes, all built around massive plazas. But the most insane part is the road system. LiDAR revealed a network of wide, straight roads connecting these cities for miles. These weren't just paths, they were engineered, dug out and built up, intersecting at perfect right angles. This shows an incredible level of central planning. The entire landscape was man-made. Between the cities were huge farms with canals and terraces. The population was at least 15,000 to 30,000, maybe way more. These were huge garden cities that lasted for 1,000 years before they were mysteriously abandoned.
The earth tattoos of Brazil. And this isn't a one-off thing.
This is part of a growing wave of evidence that the Amazon was once a bustling, crowded place. Over in Brazil, another crazy phenomenon has been appearing, revealed by the same deforestation that's destroying the forest. They're called the Acre geoglyphs. Since the 1970s, as land is cleared, hundreds of massive geometric earthworks have appeared. There are now over 450 of these things cataloged, perfect circles, squares, and other patterns dug into the ground, some with ditches 13 feet deep. These earth tattoos were made between 300 BCE and 1000 CE. Just like our other sites, nobody knows their exact purpose, but they were probably giant ceremonial spaces. They show a perfect understanding of geometry and the ability to organize huge amounts of labor to reshape the entire landscape. What these discoveries in the Amazon show us is that its history wasn't one of emptiness, but of presence. It was a connected world full of innovative societies who engineered their environment. And we are only now starting to see the true size of this lost world. A global amnesia. So we have two gigantic parallel mysteries. In the old world, an impossible hunter-gatherer temple. In the new world, sprawling lost cities hidden under a jungle we thought was empty. It raises one huge question. How did we forget about all of this? For Göbekli Tepe, the answer is wild. The builders buried it themselves, on purpose. Around 8000 BCE, they deliberately packed the entire site with thousands of tons of dirt and rock, creating the hill that protected it for 10,000 years. It was a conscious act of erasure, or maybe preservation, a time capsule sealed by its own creators. In the Amazon, the amnesia was a mix of nature and prejudice. After the cities collapsed, the jungle just grew back and ate everything. This was made worse by centuries of colonial bias. The myth of the pristine wilderness was convenient. It erased the legacy of the people who were there first, so stories of great cities in the jungle were dismissed as fairy tales. For decades, archaeologists didn't even want to look for them. What connects both stories is that people were unwilling to accept evidence that would force us to tear up the textbooks and start over. Revelation, the real human story. So what does all this mean? It means history isn't a straight line. It's a total mess of crazy peaks and lost civilizations. The revelation from Göbekli Tepe is that our human drive for meaning and community might be the most powerful engine for civilization. The need to build something sacred together may have created society, not the other way around. Our ability to think big isn't a bonus, it's a fundamental part of being human. The revelation from the Amazon is that we have underestimated our ancestors so badly. We saw a jungle and called it empty when it was a giant cultivated garden that was home to millions. It proves human genius can pop up anywhere and that entire civilizations are still buried right under our feet. That hazy period after the Ice Age wasn't empty. It was an explosion of human creativity. It was the moment our ancient impulse to build and find meaning was unleashed on the world. We see the results in Turkey and South America. They aren't weird exceptions. They are the real story. They show us that human history is a cycle of rising and falling, of remembering and forgetting. Conclusion. We started with a gap in history, a question mark on the timeline. What we found wasn't an empty space, but a space packed with forgotten wonders. We found temples built by hunters and cities swallowed by jungles. We are being forced to confront the fact that our ancestors were not simple cartoons from a textbook. They were architects, astronomers,
artists and thinkers asking the same big questions we ask today. And the crazy part? At Göbekli Tepe, they've only excavated 5% of the site. 95% is still underground, holding secrets we can't even imagine. In the Amazon, every new laser scan could reveal another lost city tomorrow. We are at the very beginning of understanding our past. The gap in our knowledge is closing, but it's being replaced by an even deeper sense of wonder. What else is buried out there waiting to rewrite our origin story all over again? What do you guys think is hidden in these missing chapters of our story? Are these sites connected, or are they just examples of a universal human impulse to build insane things? Let me know your craziest theories in the comments, and for more deep dives that will break your brain, be sure to check out our other videos. Thanks for watching.